Alright, what's up guys? I'm going to do a little tutorial about cleaning up the audio when you make a MP3 of any kind using desktop or whatever else you might use, devices, software. But for starters, I'm going to point out the audio book that we're having a problem with. We'll go to the email from Quality Assurance and we'll see what they're saying. So we've got this book in production. I used to be a Democrat is the title. There was 2 issues being listed in the Quality Assurance contact email. And so what we're going to do is just go ahead from ACX. We're going to go ahead and read these, and then we're going to see if I'm trying to keep the video kind of short, but that might not work too good. We'll see how it goes. I'm trying to see if I can identify the problem and then maybe go do one and fix it, so that this video can be used for somebody else can do the same thing. Alright, so the ACX Quality Assurance team has reviewed your recently completed audiobook. I used to be a Democrat, shocking truth of reality in government and politics. Okay, so we found 2 issues, and they must be corrected before we're able to process this book for retail sale. Now, this ain't the first time I've received emails like this making audiobooks. I actually receive them pretty much every time one is in production, but also every time the corrections did the trick. So hopefully we can get there this time too. You don't want to have to abandon a project just because of that. I also need to add here is that when I record this, we've got a hum coming from this Yeti Blue microphone, Blue Yeti. It's a $100 mic, so I guess it's not made the greatest. But I've got to clean up this video, so when I do that, it may clean up more than I bargained for, because I'd like the example of the noise to be heard. And you may not, but as long as you follow the steps anyway, you see what I'm highlighting and what I'm doing. If you follow those steps on your end, then when you play it back in your phones, you'll hear the difference. As far as this tutorial video, you may not hear it. I mean, I should probably have made this video a different way, where there's a distinction and this microphone is off during its the examples. Sorry about that. Just do what it's just showing, though. It should work for you. Let's go ahead. This book was, it's fresh new. We need to get it out there, right? So below we have listed the requirements not met or recommended solutions and/or. So when making revisions, always be sure to revise the originally recorded files. That'd be good. It's saying that's a good editing practice. So obviously I'm not doing the narration on this project. I just wrote it, but I can definitely go through some of the process with a copy of the file, and it would still work on the original WAV file just the same. Also, I recommend, it says they recommend whatever you're doing to these 2 that are listed in the email, these 2 issues here, to do the same thing to every track. That way, just in case there's one they missed, and then they check again and then they find it. It just takes care of it. So the issue is the production includes files that contain noise at the start and or tail end. So the first 0 to 2 seconds and the last 1 to 5 seconds of each file must be revised to ensure none of them contain any noise. Also, loud breaths or smacking sounds of the mouse clicks, things like that. So before narration begins and at the end, after the last spoken word, it needs to be pretty much dead air silence. But the tricky part is they don't want you to just cut that part of the file either. They even need to leave a couple of seconds for continuity purposes. They call it room something. Let's see if I can find it. Room tone spacing. And when we're doing other kinds of media and work, we just call it for continuity. So you have this track ends. It's chapter 1. It ends. The last word is spoken. It's going to be dead silent for a couple of seconds before chapter 2 can begin. And so if you go 1.5 at the end of the track and 1.5 at the beginning of the next track, it's right about the right amount of time. But the problem is, if you leave that area of audio, that 1.5 seconds worth, it could have a humming sound going on right there, and they're gonna spot that every time. So in this video, I'm gonna try to get rid of that. Then secondly, I'll probably make another video for this second issue, which the production files do not meet X spacing requirements. But first, let's talk about the files free of extraneous sounds. Let's see if we can do one real quick. Now, it's telling us that they found it in introduction, the very first, probably the first, well, not the very first file, but they found the problem in the introduction. Whether or not they listened to the rest of it, they probably didn't, because if they went to the introduction and that's the first thing they found, then they're going to wait till that is corrected. And that's why it says here to make sure, maybe just do all your files, whatever you do here to this one they found. Now, I don't know that for sure, but I'm kind of thinking that's what it is. If we go to the audio software, I've already imported the introduction file. You can see that in the title. This is Audacity. It's a free software. It's pretty robust. Yeah, you just go File and Import, and then wherever you save those files, import it in. Find an introduction one. It's probably a WAV file. In this case, it's an MP3 already. It's recommended that you edit the WAV files before saving as MP3, which if I were to do that, I would hit Export As. Now, I have choices of how I want the files exported. The MP3, the WAV, the OGG. And it has those three anyway. So what we're going to do is see if we can get the noise. First we'll identify it and then see if we can get rid of it. Again, you want to maybe do this to the WAV files before saving as an MP3. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in 9 times. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I want to zoom way in. So I want to get back to the very front of the file. This flat line would almost indicate there's no noise, but let's listen to it one time. Hopefully system audio is working. Let me see. What would I need for system audio to work? I'll just have to give it a go, see what happens. Obviously, I can't do this video without system audio working.
Introduction. Thank you for your interest in I Used to Be a Democrat.
Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pause this video and make sure that worked. Okay, yeah, it worked. Good. So let's go back to what we were doing. So we have the audio that was told about in the email. And I have it imported to Audacity. And I'm looking at the track now, zoomed in 9 times. Let's listen and identify the noise right here at the beginning.
Introduction. Introduction. Introduction.
So what I can hear is, if I buy my audiobook and I turn it on, it might be annoying to me if I hear that humming sound at the beginning. You hear that humming sound. So how do we get rid of it? Well, I zoomed in 9 times just so I can make sure I get precisely where I need to be. And you put your cursor there that you're going to highlight with. And you gotta know something about working with Audacity to get this done. Okay, so now I have found a noisy spot. What I'll do is go highlight it, then go to Effect, Noise Reduction. And this is in the Audacity menu. It's always there. Pretty much all the versions, I think. So you better find it all right. I'm going to hit Get Noise Profile. And now I need to make sure it gets that same noise out of the entire track, including the end. So we'll just say Select All. Now that it has the profile saved, it will check the entire track for that, and then it will do its thing. So we got to go back to Noise Reduction after we selected all. We've already saved a profile, so we don't need to click that again. So we go ahead and click OK, and it should show a loader as it reduces the noise. So what we're going to do is check again now and see if that noise is there. So it's gone. It's completely dead. Sound. We don't quite have the length. It probably should be a little bit longer, but it's real close.
Introduction.
Actually, that one might be just right.
Introduction.
Okay, there's identified, also identified in the email, they also identified these two problems. Click noises and other sounds, strenuous sounds that happen while doing the beginnings and the ends of these. See, in the middle, they're probably not worried about it as much, but we can fix that too. Let's listen again.
Introduction.
Right there, you just heard it.
Introduction.
Just heard it again.
Introduction.
So how do we fix that? Well, we got to go to it. And you're zoomed in 9 times, so your slider is going to be a little sensitive. I don't know if that's the first one or the second one I identified already. I think it's the first one is right here. So we need to deselect so that we can get a profile together here. Now this could also be cut out. But rather than cutting it out, you're going to change the amount of seconds. You're going to change the length of it if you do that. So rather than cutting it out, I'm going to do the same thing to this as I did to get rid of the other noise. I'm going to get that profile. Select noise profile is too short. Okay, then we'll cut it. And just right click on it. I'm thinking of Camtasia that I'm using all the time. Let's try edit. And say cut. Can always add a little time to it if we need to. Yeah, I didn't know it had a limit how short your profile, how short or long your profile could or should it be. If you zoomed in 9 times, this shouldn't affect the length too bad. Just get over there, find that noise, and cut it. No right-click menu, no. So cut. And then right about here, there's a little bit more noise, but I think that's normal. It's like when you're taking the breath. So let's go ahead and start it over.
Thank you for your interest in...
Gotta go back to the beginning. No noise now.
Thank you for your interest in I Used to Be a Democrat. The shocking truth...
It didn't start at the beginning. Just gotta go all the way here. Put the cursor there.
Introduction.
Alright, we still hear it. Those two sounds are not registering on the timeline, on the audio grid here, so I'm not sure how to get rid of them at that point, unless we can identify it as a larger profile. So the way to do that would be, maybe, let's try it again.
Introduction. Thank you for your interest in I Used to Be a Democrat. The shocking truth of reality in government and politics. I know it seems like a hit on the Democratic Party right off the bat, but in truth...
Okay, so this one might be okay. We might be able to submit it the way it's turned out. Let's zoom back out 9 times. And let's go towards the end now. Let's see what we got towards the end of it. Zoom back in. I'll start my cursor right about here.
Allowing things to get crazy and being completely complicit with it.
Okay, right there. I'm not sure how to... Some things Audacity might not be able to fix. The other thing can be done here is we can cut all of this out and then add new length to the file. Just record it, without saying anything, and then clean up the humming out of that, make sure that's dead, and you still have your 2 or 3 seconds. But we didn't even address the length at the end or the beginning yet. We're still talking about getting rid of noise, and I'm going to attempt another noise reduction profile right here. Maybe this one won't be too short. Now, if it's not in blue button, yeah, it's a blue button. Get noise profile. Nice. And then we'll say select all, because it's going to be elsewhere in the audio track. Go to effect and noise reduction again. Now that we've saved it, we can just say, okay. The settings in there are pretty much straight up and down on the sliders. I didn't do much with it. The settings for noise reduction were done for my this mic I'm talking on right now. It has a real big hum to it, and I always have to get rid of that hum before I can publish my podcast. So let's go ahead and listen in at the end here.
With it.
Beautiful. I want to go back a little bit. I'll have to zoom out though to see where I am. All right, so let's go back and listen to the end of this track.
Allowing things to get crazy and being completely complicit with it.
That is acceptable. I mean, if quality insurance doesn't accept that, I mean, what? Let's go to the front now of the audio again and listen.
Introduction.
I might be able to get rid of those two that are still there. I'm hearing it, and on this Camtasia recording, you may or may not be hearing it as well. I am hearing it in the headphones.
Introduction.
And that's exactly what QA does. They listen very closely in headphones. So they have sensitive equipment, so they're going to detect anything.
Introduction.
Right there. Right about here. I need to zoom out a little bit. Okay, yeah, right about here. Let's get this profile and do what we did last time. I seldom use anything else. Saying it's too small again. No, he did it. I seldom use anything else on here. Just the noise reducer, and I use the equalizer. So I'm going to say all. I'm going to get off track here. I'm going to now say noise reduction again, and okay. That might get rid of them two sounds, man. I mean, I would backtrack my undo, and start over, though, where we cut some of this file. It would put it all back the way it was. Or you can close the software without saving and then reopen and import the file again. It won't be saved. So let's go ahead and listen from the beginning again and see if we can still hear them sounds. It's almost the beginning.
Introduction. Thank you for your interest in I Used to Be...
Okay, they're there still, but it's embedded. It's embedded so deeply that even the software can't get rid of it. There are other things you can do, find clipping, but the more of this stuff, silence finder, sound finder, the more of this stuff you play with, the more you realize you're spinning your wheels, and it ruins the audio sometimes. So I used to go through and try them and found out it's just not it's not necessary. This is like when a sound engineer has, in the old days, they had a rack, and on the rack they had all these different equalizers and amps and processors and compressors. And that's basically what the software is trying to offer here. This isn't music, so we won't be using very much of those. This is an audio book, so when you speak, we just have to make sure the spaces in between are clean. This may very well be acceptable, what I've done to it already. Let's listen one more time.
Introduction. Thank you for your interest in I Used to Be a Democrat, the shocking truth of reality in government and politics.
I don't think they complain about breath noises. Breaths are considered normal. And it would seem strange if it didn't have that. Very robotic. Okay, so towards the end of this file, we wanted to make sure we listen one more time there. I guess right in here is a good spot. Let's read.
And being completely complicit with it.
That's about right. You should be able to submit it the way it is. This file is done by me, though, so we have to find the original WAV file that the work was done on, and then take and import it, open up Audacity and import that file, and do what I just did to clean up the humming noises, and find any other sounds like click noises throughout you can just zoom in real deep and you can see some of it. and save those profiles. It might take, I would just like do 2 files, 3 files a day that way, because it might take a while. But you save a profile of something. If it's a breath, it's okay. If it's anything else, maybe not so much. Let's just see.
The Democrats...
That's okay. The breath is okay. You don't need to remove that as saved profile. But go in, save profile of humming sounds and click noises. Then select all. Once the profile is saved, you just got to highlight that spot where it's bad. Then select all and then say noise reduction. And say okay after the dialog opens that you've saved. So this is one thing you can do to pass the quality assurance. Another thing you can do, if you're not using other equipment for sound engineering and making your audio, more enhanced, then you can try something else here in Audacity, which is what I do with the podcast. I will take out the bass and treble dialogue and go ahead and work the slider till I think it sounds just right. Now, this is the setting I left it on for the last, year or two. I got 139 episodes. Once I found a setting that works well with this microphone, I keep it there. But I do have to come in here with every episode and apply it. Let's try that on this book, see what happens. First, we need to select all. All right. So you would select all. We're still at the beginning, right? Effects, bass and treble. They do have a full equalizer if you wanted to go there. Say apply. I just like the 3 choices. Volume, which is decibels level. Did I apply that? Sorry about the the pause here. I gotta see what just happened. So it did save it that way.
Introduction.
Oh, I know what was going on. I'm used to seeing a slider on the podcast is almost an hour long, so the file's so big that when I do bass and treble, it pops up a slider and says loading. It's almost done type thing. But this one, it's not long enough for that dialogue to pop up.
Introduction. Thank you for your interest in I Used to Be a Democrat, the shocking truth of reality in government and politics.
Okay, so let's open that file and compare it.
Introduction. Thank you for your interest in I Used to Be a Democrat, the shocking truth of reality in government and politics.
Now again in our software.
Introduction.
Now,
thank you for your interest in I Used to Be a Democrat.
Now, whenever I took the noise out, the humming sound, we got a little more treble, came into play a little more than when the humming was there. And that can be verified by playing this one.
Introduction.
Okay.
Thank you for your interest in I Used to Be a Democrat.
It has a rich sound, but that rich sound is accompanied by noise. So when we removed the noise, we also lost the richness of the sound. Let's hear it again.
Introduction. Thank you for your interest.
But when I did bass and treble, which is under effect, I went ahead and remedied the noise removal, making the treble more prominent. The remedy was to select all, go to bass and treble, and in my settings, I like have a little more bass. Maybe for this file, I would maybe slide. But if you go too far on any of these settings, it's going to hurt it more than it's going to help it. So you just got to find that perfect sweet spot. And so for the podcast, right about where I've worked these about 20 times before I finally settled these sliders where they are. Then that works for the podcast. I could do an example of it. It's not necessary. But for this file, I might change the slider, particularly the bass and the mid-range. Oh, sorry about that. I might change particularly treble, which on an equalizer, this button is kind of like the mid. And then I would take the bass, slide it to the right a little more. This one maybe leave it alone or slide it to the left a little more. It's a pretty trebly. Once we cleaned out the humming noise, it got a prominent treble. Don't know any other way to put it. I can just hear it really good in the phones that way. So what we'll do is we'll do another video talking about the second issue. And hopefully this video can help us out on the issue that was here from Quality Assurance. It's the introduction, MP3. The extraneous sounds have been removed, and that would be mostly that humming that we hear at the beginning.
Introduction.
Hear it?
Thank you for your interest in I Used to Be a Democrat, the shocking truth of...
See, there's an overtone that's happening as soon as you start the track.
Introduction.
And, you might have to put on a set of phones and quiet out everything else to really hear it. But that's what Quality Assurance does. They work with, a photographer needs a dark room when he's developing, the old school photo paper. He develops it in a dark room, the negatives and stuff. He shoots the negatives, then he develops the paper, but it all has to be dark. It's the same thing in audio. They do everything a certain way inside of phones with certain equipment, and they look for anything that's going to annoy the customer. If and when you get past Quality Assurance, you're going to be glad you did, because customers are happy with the final production. Matter of fact, they expect it. When they buy an audiobook from ACX, they don't hear any noises. So if they were to buy one and they do hear the noises, they're going to wonder about that. And if it did get past Quality Assurance with noises, then they buy it, then you end up with bad reviews when you make the sale. When somebody else is thinking about buying the book, they're reading the bad reviews going, what? So it's really important to, the other thing I want to say is having the finest equipment, if one can afford it. If you got the money that you save up for whatever, having the audio equipment and the software it's a real blessing for one thing, but it's key to getting past Quality Assurance. If we're now in these times, you can make a recording on your phone on anything these days. But the studios that produce audio, they're still using the stuff they've been around for a century. So they look for that kind of quality. Just enough said there. But we're going to see if this video helps. Hopefully it will. I'll come back with another one and we'll upload these videos. So goodbye.